Good day. I am Delbert Chan Elindo from BE 3A, and this is my video presentation for EJOC 9, the teacher and the school curriculum, particularly Lesson 8.3, which talks about curriculum modification in basic education post-pandemic. I will be answering the questions one by one based on what I have learned, including some of my personal reflections and experiences. Number one, why do you think the curriculum had to change after the pandemic? Do you agree with the changes? Why or why not? I believe the curriculum had to change because the pandemic revealed many weaknesses in our education system. When schools suddenly closed, we saw how unprepared we were to continue learning outside the classroom. Many students lack access to gadgets, stable internet, and even proper study spaces at home. Teachers, too, struggled with using online platforms and adapting lessons quickly. The existing curriculum was also too heavy, and not all content was practical or essential, especially during a crisis. That's why I agree with the changes that were made, such as the implementation of most essential learning competencies or MELCs. By streamlining the content, students could focus on mastering the most important skills and knowledge without being overwhelmed. I also appreciate the focus on flexibility and inclusion because not all students have the same learning environment or resources. The changes made the curriculum more relevant, learner centered, and adaptable, which I believe are crucial qualities moving forward. Number two, what learning style worked best for you during the pandemic? How will you use that in your future classroom? During the pandemic, blended learning worked best for me. It gave me a balance of structure and independence. Having online classes allowed me to interact with my teachers and classmates, ask questions, and share ideas, while the modules helped me manage my time and understand lessons at my own pace. This combination helped me learn better because I was not pressured to keep up with the pace of others, but I still felt connected and supported. In my future classroom, I will apply this experience by offering different ways for students to learn. Some learners do better with hands on work, while others prefer reading or digital tools. I will use blended learning by giving printed modules or worksheets along with opportunities for interactive sessions either in person or online. This approach will help me cater to diverse learning styles and support students based on their unique needs. I also want to use platforms that Google Classroom, not just for assignments, but for communication and motivation. Learning doesn't have to be limited to one method. We should be flexible as future teachers. Number three, if you're teaching in a place with weak internet and few gadgets, how would you help your students learn using the new curriculum? If I were assigned to a community where the internet connection is poor and gadgets are limited, I would first focus on maximizing printed modules and activity sheets. Since the Department of Education has already developed self-learning modules under the MELCs, I can adapt those to fit my learner's context. I would make sure that the instructions are clear and that the materials are engaging and connected to their everyday lives so that even without a gadget, learning remains meaningful. Aside from that, I would also explore community based teaching strategies. For example, I could schedule small group sessions in barangay halls or safe open areas where students can come once or twice a week for consultation. I will also communicate with parents regularly, even through the text or phone calls, to keep them informed and involved in their child's learning. It's also possible to use alternative media like radio or local TV if available, which was done in some parts of the country. As a future teacher, I believe we must be creative, resourceful, and committed to reaching all students no matter their situation. Number four, how can you take care of your students' mental health and emotions as a future teacher? Give at least one specific way. Mental health is just as important as academic performance, especially after everything students have gone through during the pandemic. As a future teacher, one way I can take care of my students' emotional well being is by creating a safe and supportive classroom environment where they feel heard and respected. I can start each day or week with a short check in activity like Kumustahan or a mood board where students can express how they are feeling without pressure. Another way is by integrating socio-emotional learning into my lessons. For instance, while teaching Filipino or English, I can include stories that deal with emotions and relationships, followed by discussions about how to deal with stress, anger, or sadness. I also want to be observant and responsive to signs of distress in students, whether they are being withdrawn, irritable, or struggling academically. If I needed, I will coordinate with guidance counselors or seek advice from more experienced teachers. Most of all, I will model kindness and empathy so that students know they are not alone and that their teacher genuinely cares about them. Number five, what are the good and bad sides of using digital tools like Zoom or Google Classroom? How can you make sure all your students can access them? Digital tools like Zoom and Classroom have really changed the way we teach and learn. The good side is that they allow us to stay connected even when we are far apart. Students can join classes, submit assignments, and receive feedback quickly. There are also many learning resources online that can support different subjects. These platforms help promote independent learning and digital skills, which are very important in today's world. However, the downside is that not everyone has equal access. Some students don't have stable internet, updated gadgets, or even a quiet place to study. To address this, I would try to offer offline options for activities and assignments. I can send printed versions of tasks or allow students to submit work in a creative ways, like through photos, video recordings, or handwritten outputs. I also think it's important to have flexible deadlines and regular communication so students don't feel left out. Lastly, I would advocate for school or community support like lending programs for devices or partnerships with local government to improve connectivity. Access to digital tools is a basic need now. We must do our best to bridge the gap. Number six, why it is important for teachers to understand laws like RA 10533 and DepEd's BELCP. How do they support curriculum changes? It's very important for teachers to understand educational laws and policies like RA 10533 and the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan or BELCP because these serve as the foundation of what and how we teach. RA 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013 emphasizes learner-centered education, global competitiveness, and the integration of 21st century skills. Knowing this helps us align our lessons with national goals and ensure that we teach is relevant and future ready. The BELCP, on the other hand, was DepEd's strategic response during the pandemic to ensure that learning would not stop. It guided schools on how to shift to modular, online, and blended learning. As a future teacher, understanding BLCP helps me appreciate the importance of flexibility and planning, especially during emergencies. These laws are not just documents, they are our guide to creating inclusive, effective, and meaningful learning experiences for all students. By knowing them, we become more responsible and professional in our role as educators. Number seven, how will you teach both academic lessons and life skills at the same time in your class? Teaching both academic content and life skills can be done by designing activities that serve both purposes. One way is through project based learning. For example, in a science class, I could have my students work in groups to create a home based experiment using recycled materials. While they're learning scientific concepts, they also practice communication, problem solving, teamwork, and responsibility. Another way is to use real life scenarios and lessons. In math, I can use budgeting as a topic where students learn basic operations while also understanding how to manage money. During group work, I will observe how students collaborate and guide them in resolving conflicts or sharing ideas. These experiences build emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. I believe life skills should not be treated as separate subjects, but something that is embedded in daily classroom routines, like assigning leadership roles, encouraging reflective journaling, or involving students in decision making. This help build confidence and character, which are just as important as academic knowledge. That's all. Thank you for listening.